Hello everybody and welcome back to LRN Diary Editions. Today I'm covering the 5 things to look out for this weekend as we head into the Spanish GP. So we'll get straight into it. In at number 5 we have the quality of officiating. So it's already been brought into question this season by Alonso that the quality of officiating has not improved since the departure of Michael Massey at the end of last season. Everyone is now fully aware of the issues we had in the final race of last year. But looking into this year, at the Miami GP specifically, we had a couple of incidents where the drivers were raising safety concerns and asking for Tech Pro barriers to be installed before the chicane because they were getting really hurt, even with slow incidents into that corner. But they didn't listen, they didn't do it. And apparently they chose the jeopardy over the safety of the drivers, which the drivers do not agree with. Alonso's race is a concern, along with Albon and Sainz. So hopefully we will see them improve, start to listen more to the drivers, and especially put the safety of the drivers first. I think there haven't been any sort of really high-profile incidents before that this season, so hopefully we won't see this ongoing. That role is also being shared now, so maybe we will see a difference of approach depending on who it is that is officiating the races on any given weekend. But certainly something to look out for. We definitely want to see the sport put first, not the spectacle. The spectacle should come on its own naturally, not be driven by the officiating at any given Grand Prix. So let's hope that that remains the same, and that they take on board the criticism of the drivers and they listen to them, especially when it's for a safety concern. Now, in at number 4, we have the future stars of F1. So, Friday practice, P1, we will see Yuri Vips from the Red Bull Junior program getting a chance in Sergio Perez's seat in the Red Bull, and we will see Nick de Vries given a chance in the Williams. He's part of the Mercedes stable. We know that Williams tends to be used as the staging and proving ground for young Mercedes drivers, George Russell being the most recent example. But with Nick de Vries coming in, for those that don't know, he's the current Formula E world champion. He's a really, really impressive driver, someone that I think we should see in F1 in the near future. He's certainly proven that he's got the background to do it, or at least be given a chance. And it'll be interesting to see, maybe long term, will he be the replacement for Lewis Hamilton in that Mercedes seat? It will certainly be interesting to see. And as I've discussed previously, with the ongoing jewellery issue happening with Lewis Hamilton, whether or not he's going to remove that nose ring, we could actually see Nick de Vries in the Mercedes sooner rather than later, should Hamilton be prevented from driving after this weekend's Grand Prix into the future races. He will be given a bye this weekend. But let's keep an eye on Nick de Vries, his performance in FP1. Let's see if he's ready to take on that opportunity in Mercedes should it come his way. Now, in at number 3, we have, will we see an improvement in overtaking? Obviously, we've got the new rules, the new cars, this improved ability to follow closely to cars in front. But Miami did show that tracks are not always, even with these new cars and regulations, we are not always going to see great overtaking. Hopefully, Spain, being a track that has historically been very difficult to overtake, there's a high chance of probability it could become a bit of a procession at the Spanish GP. We definitely don't want that. We want to see these new rules making a difference. We want to see the racing that we saw for the first couple of races of this season, where it was really exciting and everyone was getting behind it. Everyone, really, really excited about the fact that these new cars were seeming to do what we wanted them to and bring that proper wheel-to-wheel racing back to F1. I think we've come away from that in the last couple of races. I think hopefully as the cars improve and get upgraded and the teams sort of find their way around these regulations, we're not going to see an end to the fighting that we saw at the beginning of the season when they were coming in blind, and that actually they may even come closer together. We'll certainly see about that. But it would be great if we could see some more overtaking this weekend, and it's definitely something to look out for. In at number 2, we have porpoising. can the teams get rid of the porpoising? This has now been raised as a health concern by Carlos Sainz, raising the potential for long-term health issues for the drivers if porpoising becomes an ongoing problem. So I would certainly hope that as the teams start to bring in those upgrades, will we see that porpoising? They find a way to cut the porpoising out of the cars, keep them nice and stable, even with the ground effect um, rules in place. I hope so. We certainly don't want to see anything where it's causing, neck and back injuries long term to the drivers. They shouldn't be put in that position. Certainly, when ground effect used to be part of F1, I don't remember porpoising being specifically an issue, or having read about it, I don't know of it being a specific issue. I know the cars are, of course, extremely different now, but I would hope that we could find a way to keep the ground effect, keep this design where the cars can be much closer together, but really start to engineer the cars in a way that we can reduce the porpoising to a way that is not so visible. I mean, some of it is so vicious when you're watching the cars go down the long straights, especially the DRS zones. Looking at the Mercedes as being the prime culprit, it is really bad. So hopefully we'll see that reduce as these cars are engineered and upgraded over the rest of the season and into the next couple of years as well. And finally, in at number one, the main thing to look out for this weekend are the upgrades to the cars and the impact that will have to the order of the grid. We are already in a position at the moment where we have the top two teams, Red Bull and Ferrari. I mean, realistically, the top car at the moment is Verstappen. We are still in a position right now where if Verstappen if Verstappen finishes, he wins. We do not want to see that continue for every race anyway. But what we definitely don't want to see is these huge gaps still between the best car and the worst car. We want there to be a much closer grid, and a lot of teams are bringing upgrades to the track this weekend in Spain. They've got so much data in Spain from all the testing they do pre-season this year, previous years as well. They have so much data around how their cars perform at this track that it's the ideal place for most of the teams to bring their upgrades, especially with the budget caps in place. They can't bring upgrades throughout the year because they've only got a specified amount of money they can spend, tokens they can spend through the year. So a lot of the teams are bringing them in Spain so they can compare how their cars are performing from pre-season to now and to make sure that those upgrades are working. But the biggest thing for me is, will it bring the cars closer together? Will we get rid of these 2-second gaps between the fastest and the slowest cars per lap that we've been seeing? And can we get that gap down so that we can have those surprises in qualifying? We can have those surprises in the race where one of the drivers can just do an absolute madness to get to the front and really get it down to driver ability. So, people like Alonso, who I believe is one of the best drivers on the grid, can outdrive the car, get it near the front purely on his racing ability. That's what we want to see long term. I don't expect it to happen overnight, but I'd certainly like to see it moved even a little bit that way with the upgrades that the teams are going to be bringing this weekend. For instance, Haas, can we get them back to the front of the grid, given that they were fighting for fifth in the first race, and without upgrading the car they seem to have slowly drifted back. Let's hope that these upgrades are going to bring them back to the front and we can see teams like Haas fighting in those top 10 positions, and we can see a really mixed up grid, which would be absolutely fantastic. But anyway guys, those are my 5 things to look out for this weekend at the Spanish Grand Prix. If you liked it, please hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so that you're notified of all future content. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.